Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with the daily technical update. It is Friday the 13th of September and I have to say I will be out traveling the next few days, meaning I will not do any updates on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday next week. Sorry about that, but I'll be back Thursday the 19th. But today I have quite a few things for you. I have Amazon that has broken bullish after the past few days of bullish trading. RSI is now back in positive sentiment, and there's now potential up to 192.72 and also a previous peak here just around 200, a little bit above 200 for now. So as long as it stays that course and doesn't break back below 179, then it seems to be headed in that direction. Also a quick look at Meta, that is also very close to a resuming uptrend. I would actually claim that it has resumed uptrend. We are still in positive sentiment. There is no divergence on the RSI. It never went below 40, so we are still in positive uptrend, resuming trying to move back to a previous all-time high. So let's see about that. Here we have the weekly chart, and we have this bearish engulfing top and reversal pattern here back in July, and that actually indicated that we should sell off heavily. We did also that very shortly, but it bounced from this rising trend line here that, you know, back all the way back from January. So it seems like it would cancel it. If it closes above 542.81, well, then it's cancelled, and then we're likely to see higher levels on Meta. However, if it takes out the lows from this week, which is 495.60, expect a downtrend to resume, and also this rising trend line here to be broken. On the S&P 500 index, and let's move back to the daily chart, which is right there. We can see that it actually also had a nice rally yesterday, reaching the 786 retracement of this sell-off here, and it could push higher towards a previous all-time high, which is over here back in July at 5,670, just below that. If RSI gets back above 60 threshold, it will further confirm that we are in a positive sentiment, so expect that to be challenged today. So that will be also be key for where the week will end. And here we have the US 500 CFD, just very quickly, currently trading above the 786 retracement, pushing towards the peak here from the first trading day of September. And unless it starts sliding back, it seems like that's why we headed. Confirmation if RSI moves back above 60 threshold, but we're already still in a positive sentiment. Nasdaq, that has been struggling and lacking a little bit, is not struggling and lacking much longer, but it is headed for resistance at 19,610, which is also around the 786 retracement. So really strong resistance here that it has to overcome. If it does close above that level and RSI back above 60 thresholds, which is actually in a negative sentiment, then it will reverse that and confirm a bullish trend that is likely to take out this bearish engulfing candle here, and 19,939 will also be challenged and taken out if that could play out that scenario. If it does that, well, then there is a potential back to all-time high. Whether we'll get there or not is still debatable. If it's been rejected, if Nasdaq's been rejected at 19,610, around that level, 19,623 to be exact, that is the key resistance, then we could see a little bit of a setback down to around 19,000. Moving to Europe, and let's start with DSV, the Danish transportation company that has agreed to buy DB Schenker for more than 100 billion Danish kroner. Jumped higher this morning, opened quite high. There seems to be some profit taking there, but let's have a look at the weekly chart and possibly also the monthly chart. Well, let's see here. where we actually are. Here's the weekly chart where it jumped higher. No resistance until the peaks here around 1496 and 1527, 1530. So we are still well below its all-time high. So let's see here in the next few weeks how the market will digest this news here. But for now it seems to be very positive on it, and we also on positive sentiment, bullish trend. So I think it seems like we are going to test this at least, and possibly also pushing higher in the coming weeks and months. Moving on to the EUROSTOXX the EUROSTOXX index, and let's go back to the daily chart, which we can see right here up here. If it will load right there. There we are. So EUROSTOXX 50, 48 to be exacted. There we have a little bit of a resistance that is trying to break above, and next will then be 48.89, that gap area here that needs to be broken. So it's struggling a little bit, and we are slightly in negative sentiment. DAX is challenging the gap area after breaking above this morning, the 18,592. It has done it before, but well, you can see yesterday it just touched it. And if it can close above 18,747, it's like a jumbo jet here. Then it will also challenge this bearish engulfing pattern here. That's the top reversal. What is key is that RSI is still in a positive sentiment and there's no divergence. So if RSI closes back above 60 threshold, it is likely to see that it will challenge this and possibly also take it out, especially when we're thinking about there's no divergence on the RSI. So that seems to be the key. If we're just very quickly looking at the GER40 CFD for a minute, we can see it also bounced, but it is struggling short term here at the 50% threshold, or the 50% retracement level, and the RSI, it is in a positive sentiment, but it's below 60 threshold and seems to be struggling. It really needs to close back above 18,683. Then we could see a push higher, but it is struggling a little bit at the moment. We have the AEX Amsterdam index also struggling to really close above this gap area. You can see this gap area here. It tried to open higher yesterday, but got hammered down. Now it's trying to get back into it again. If it closes above 900, then it could push to close it, but that will require 909 to close above that level, and that can be a bit of a struggle. You will see the 55 moving average coming down there, kind of putting a lid on it, and we have the 100 moving average also here that is giving some resistance. So that would be really hard nut to crack, and we are still in a negative sentiment on the RSI, indicating that we could resume a downtrend. And if we do that, that will be the key if it can't really get into that gap area. On the CAC 40, we can see here that, well, it is still hovering around 74.64, so that's a little bit of a worry for that one. It could resume downtrend. If it takes out 73.41, well, then it is likely to resume downtrend. 75 is the key level that it needs to close above for a cancellation of this bearish engulfing here, but it needs to take that one out. But first clue could be that it closes above there. On the Swiss market, we have Swiss index SMI now trading about 12,000, so it seems like it's bouncing really strongly here. And if we add a Fibonacci retracement level, we can get an idea what it can do actually. And at least the bounce up to 12,100 should be seen possibly today or early next week. If it can move higher of that, then we are looking at resistance levels just around here. You can see that we have a resistance level at 12,252. If it takes out 11,875, downtrend will resume. Moving on to FX and euro dollar, that bounced strongly yesterday and is following through today. And it seems like if we are measuring from the last leg up here, it is around the 61 8 retracement at 110 and a change. That is bouncing from currently testing this 61.8 at 110.97. That little downtrend there. What is also interesting is that we have the RSI still in a positive sentiment. If it gets back above and close above 60 threshold, then I think we will see euro dollar pushing towards the 112 level and also higher. And as we talked about previously, the weekly chart, as you can see down here, the weekly chart is in a bullish trend. If I can get it to update right there, you can see we are in a bullish trend with the potential higher for euro dollar. Moving on to euro sterling. Euro sterling is still holding on nicely above the 84 level, and seems my system is a little bit slow here this morning. I'm sorry about that. I bought a new computer, so it's on the way. Still holding on around this 84, 30, 40 level. Can't really make up its mind what it's going to do, but keep an eye on 84 for any potential downside. There is still room up to 84, 85 level. And on cable, we have a push higher to also this morning, following through from yesterday after just dipping below the 38.2 retracement here, and it's now testing 61.8 retracement. They sell off there at 131.48. Positive sentiment. If RSI gets back above 60 threshold, well then there's potential higher to towards previous peak here in August. So keep an eye on those levels there. Moving on to dollar yen, and up here I have the daily chart, and down here I have the monthly chart, and let's just change it to a weekly chart so we can also see what is really going on. First of all, here short-term dollar yen is very close to cancelling the hammer bottom and reversal pattern here by taking out the lows of that. We are currently at 140.75 level. If we are pushing down below 140.25, it is cancelled. It's very close to anyway, so I think it will be done. And here we can see on the weekly that, well, it is why this is a key level. If it takes out 140.25, and especially if it closes the week below, then expect further selling pressure in the coming weeks down towards the 137 level, 138, 137 level. You can see here that is key. If it can hold above here towards the end of the week, well, then we could see a short bounce, but it also looked like that yesterday, so I'm not quite confident on it. And we can also see that the RSI is currently below its lower rising trend line down here, so we are actually resuming downtrend on dollar yen. Moving on to euro yen, more or less the same picture really. You can see it is trying to cancel this hammer pattern here, this bottom reversal pattern. If it takes out 155.45 and closes below, well, then expect further selling pressure below 154, 153 in the coming going into next week. Aussie yen, excuse me. Aussie yen also turning sour this morning, and could be testing the 93.58, 93.60 support. I think it will be challenged if it's being taken out. Well, then we are down in this area where we saw this bank down here towards 92 and 91. Sterling yen. Sterling yen also selling this morning towards the little spike down here from a couple of days ago, 183.70, could push to 282.80, where we have a little bit of support. If it takes out that, well, then we are looking lower. If it can hold it up, then we can bounce, get a little bit of bounce. So that'd be key here, I think, the rest of the day and going into Monday. Aussie dollar, well, strong bounce also here on Aussie dollar after dipping below 66.40. We talked about this yesterday, and the next key level will be 67.67. So let's say 67.70. Just always add a little bit of a little bit to it, or subtract a little bit to it. So 67.70. If it breaks above that and especially closes above, then we will see higher levels on Aussie dollar. Key support 66.40. It did dip below, so if it takes out the dip there, 66.20, further selling pressure down to around 66.5. or 65.5, sorry. Dollar Canada, well, it's really frustrating at the moment, but that is what is happening when it's trading around what I will call a pivot point, 135.90. Will it move higher or will it slide back lower? I favor the latter, that it will slide back lower, but there is still potential up to 136.35, also maybe up to this area, but we have the 100 moving average, we have the 55 moving average giving it a pressure, and there's negative sentiment on the RSI, no divergence. So I think we will see dollar Canada sliding lower in the coming weeks. On the Swiss franc, Euro Swiss, very strong bounce, but it needs to take out a 94.45 for further upside potential. We're not really there yet. If it takes out a 93 down here, well, then expect further selling pressure really to resume pushing a lower towards a 92, but key 94.45 to the upside. And dollar Swiss rejected at 85.40. That was key for dollar Swiss. It really needs to close above that. It spiked just a little bit above, but it couldn't hold on, and it seems to resume downtrend. And if RSI actually drops back below 40 threshold, expect further downside pressure on on dollar Swiss. And we are likely to see lower levels, and this at around 83.74, a spike down here likely to be taken out with a push lower towards. And let's just very quickly have a look at the weekly chart for dollar Swiss. That could give a little bit of an idea where we are headed to, and this is what it looks like. We are back to this 83.30 level that was back in December last year. Commodities and gold, we have to talk gold, of course, and yesterday where it actually took out the 25.32, sorry about that, it's Friday morning, and massive move higher, and now it's currently 161.8 projection of this sideways range here, this corrective of sideways range here, and I think we will see a push towards 2600 going into next week, and maybe in a little bit of exhaustive mood, but as we can see here, the RSI actually is above its falling trend line. There is divergence because this peak here on the RSI value here is a little bit lower than over here. So there's still some divergence on it. So we are in an exhaustive move for now, at least. Let's see if we can cancel it. If we actually add a horizontal trend line, we can see what it needs to take to cancel that. We need to get the RSI above 70.05, and it's very close to, so that could also be interesting. If we get up to around 25.90, 2600, it's likely to cancel it, and then there is potential for much higher levels on gold spot. Silver, also massive move yesterday and following through today. As we can see here, it took out 29.20 where we had some resistance. Now it's very close to test the 30 spot 20, which I think it will take out if it does close above it, and the RSI back above 60 threshold, currently moving around at that level at the moment. If it does close above that level, well, then we are looking at levels around 31.5. If being rejected, we could see a pre-test or retest of 29.20 level again, or the support, which is it is now. Copper, well, that is lacking a little bit, and it really needs to take out 432, this area around here, for any meaningful upside potential, and it is struggling. We are in a negative sentiment, and if it takes out the lows here from about a week ago at 404, well, then expect copper to push below 400. But I think we will be trading sideways in this range here around 420 for quite some time. WTI and Brent crude oils have been bouncing after this massive sell-off. WTI almost to the 38.2 retracement at $70. Could bounce a little bit further, but it has some overhead strong resistance, and we are in a downtrend on daily and weekly. And as you also see on the weekly, we can just look at very quickly why is that. Well, it is because crude oil has been breaking barriers out of this triangle-like pattern here, as you can see, and there is potential down for WTI to 64.12 and even 61.62 level. But for now, we have a bit of a bounce, but negative sentiment on the RSI, no divergence anywhere. So I think we will see crude oil pushing lower and resuming downtrend after this short-term bounce. You can see here Brent crude oil on the daily, well, it is bouncing, and there's potential up to the 38.2 retracement at 73.62. But as we can also see here on the weekly, it is in a bearish trend, potential down to 60 level, but there's some strong support here around 64. But this is the medium term, so of course there will be some correction after this strong sell-off there. US 10-year Treasury yields is pushing lower this morning. We can see here on the daily chart up here that it's pushing lower. If it takes out 3.59, well, then there's potential lower. We have a little bit divergence on the RSI, but it seems to be taking out this lower rising trend line there, and that could spell trouble, or if you like lower rates, of course, then it's not a trouble. And you can see here on the weekly chart, it's actually pushing below support. So there is medium term going into the last quarter of the year. There's potential down to around 332. If it can get back above and close above 366, well, then maybe we could see a bit of a correction higher. But for now, it does look like it's resuming downtrend and keeping it the downtrend also on medium term. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and a nice weekend when you get to there, and talk to you again Thursday next week. Thank you very much.